It was a chilly autumn evening in New York City, and Grand Central Station buzzed with its usual chaotic energy. Business people rushed to catch their trains, tourists marveled at the high ceilings, and street performers played music in the background. Sitting against a column near one of the station's exits was Daniel Carter, a 46-year-old homeless artist. His long, unkempt beard and tattered clothes made him easy to overlook, just another invisible soul in the city's sea of faces. But in his hands was something remarkable, a sketchbook filled with breathtaking portraits. Despite the noise and movement around him, Daniel focused on his latest piece, a pencil sketch of a passerby, capturing their essence with every delicate stroke. Art was the only thing that had kept him going, even when everything else in his life had fallen apart. That night, Tom Hanks was just another commuter. Dressed in a simple jacket and baseball cap, he was trying to enjoy a rare, quiet evening in the city. Most people didn't even recognize him as he made his way through the station. But as he passed by Daniel's spot, something caught his eye. The intricate pencil strokes, the lifelike details. It wasn't just a sketch, it was art. Hanks slowed his steps and turned to get a better look. Daniel, deep in concentration, didn't notice the world-famous actor standing just a few feet away. His hands trembled slightly from the cold, but his focus never wavered. Hanks watched as Daniel's pencil danced across the paper, bringing a nameless stranger's face to life. It was beautiful, haunting, and filled with emotion. Finally, Tom broke the silence. "That's incredible." Daniel looked up, startled. Most people ignored him. The ones who did stop rarely had anything nice to say. Thanks," Daniel muttered, unsure of what to make of the man standing before him. Hanks crouched down to get a better look at the sketchbook. "These are really something. How long have you been drawing?" Daniel hesitated before answering. "All my life, I guess. But professionally? Feels like another lifetime ago." Hanks raised an eyebrow. "What happened?" Daniel sighed, debating how much to share. "I used to work as an illustrator, had a career, a home. Then, life happened." Hanks nodded, understanding that kind of answer all too well. "And now?" Daniel chuckled bitterly. "Now? I draw because it's the only thing that still makes sense." For the next few minutes, Tom flipped through Daniel's sketches, marveling at the raw talent on every page. Detailed portraits of strangers, stunning cityscapes, expressive character designs. It was all there. "You ever think about selling these?" Hanks asked. Daniel scoffed. "Who'd buy art from a guy like me?" Hanks looked at him seriously. "A lot more people than you think." There was a beat of silence before Tom pulled out his wallet. "How much for this one?" he asked, pointing to a sketch of an elderly woman feeding pigeons. Daniel blinked in surprise. No one had ever asked to buy his work before. I don't know. $20?" he said hesitantly. Hank smirked, shaking his head. "That's way too low." He pulled out $100 bill and handed it to Daniel. Daniel's eyes widened. "I can't." "You can," Hanks interrupted gently. "Your talent is worth something." Daniel hesitated before taking the money. For the first time in years, he felt valued. But Hanks wasn't done yet. He glanced around the station, then back at Daniel's sketchbook. "You ever sell your work online?" Daniel let out a short laugh. "Man, I don't even have a phone." Hanks thought for a moment. Then he stood up, dusting off his jeans. "Stay here." Daniel watched in confusion as the actor walked away. He figured that was the end of it, just another random encounter. But 10 minutes later, Tom Hanks returned with a brand new smartphone and a portable charger. Daniel stared at the box in shock. "What is this?" "Your new way to share your art," Hanks said with a grin. You're too talented for the world not to see it. Daniel swallowed hard. I don't know how to use all that fancy social media stuff. Hanks chuckled. Good thing I do. Right there in the subway station, Tom Hanks helped Daniel set up an online art page. He showed him how to take photos of his work, how to upload them, and even made the first post himself. By the time they were done, Daniel's page was live, and the world was about to see his talent. Daniel's hands trembled slightly as he held the brand new smartphone. He had never owned anything this valuable in years. The screen glowed softly, displaying the first post that Tom Hanks had just uploaded. A snapshot of Daniel's breathtaking sketch of an elderly woman feeding pigeons. All right, Hanks said with a grin. Now we just have to wait. Daniel furrowed his brow. Wait for what? Hanks winked. The magic of the internet. Daniel had no idea what that meant, but he nodded anyway. They sat together for a while, watching the city's pulse move around them. Daniel wasn't used to this. The attention, the kindness, the hope. You really think this will work? He asked quietly. Hanks nodded. I do. But it's not just about what I think. Let's see what everyone else says. By the next morning, Daniel's new art page had thousands of followers. Thousands. People from all over the world were liking, commenting, and sharing his work. The first post, the one Hanks had uploaded, had gone viral overnight. Who is this artist? Why isn't this man famous already? I'd pay so much for a piece like this. Daniel could hardly believe his eyes as he scrolled through the flood of messages. Commissions were already coming in, real people offering real money for his art. He ran a hand through his scruffy beard, still trying to process it all. Is this really happening? Hanks chuckled. Told you. For the first time in years, Daniel felt seen. With Tom's encouragement, Daniel set up a small workspace in a nearby shelter. He sketched for hours each day, fulfilling requests from customers who had found him through social media. The money started coming in, enough to buy new supplies, fresh clothes, and even rent a tiny studio apartment. And it didn't stop there. A few weeks later, Hanks returned to check on him, this time with an idea. You ever thought about doing a gallery show? Daniel nearly choked on his coffee. What? Hanks grinned. A gallery. A space where people can come see your work in person. Maybe even buy a few pieces. Daniel's mind raced. He had never imagined his art hanging in an actual gallery. He had spent years thinking of himself as a nobody, just another invisible face in the crowd. But now, maybe he was something more. The night of Daniel's first ever gallery exhibit was surreal. People dressed in formal attire sipped wine and admired his work. The same sketches he had once drawn on scraps of cardboard were now elegantly framed and selling for thousands of dollars. And in the center of it all stood Daniel, dressed in a suit that he never thought he'd wear, shaking hands with buyers, collectors, and even reporters who wanted to know his story. He spotted Tom Hanks in the corner, watching with a proud smile. As the night drew to a close, Daniel approached Hanks, still in disbelief. I don't know how to thank you for all of this, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Hanks patted him on the back. Just promise me one thing. Daniel tilted his head. What's that? Pay it forward, Hanks said with a smile. When you see someone who needs a hand, do for them what someone did for you. Daniel swallowed hard. He would. He absolutely would. Years later, Daniel was no longer the homeless man sketching on the subway floor. He was a renowned artist, his work displayed in galleries around the world. He had everything he once thought was lost: a home, a career, and most importantly, a sense of purpose. And he never forgot where he came from. Now, every month, Daniel took the time to mentor struggling artists, donating supplies and teaching them how to share their work online, just as someone once did for him. And every time he saw a struggling artist who had lost hope, he repeated the words that had changed his life: "Your talent is worth something." And that brings us to the end of this story. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Remember, kindness and opportunity can change a life forever. Thank you for watching.